All right, we are back on a weekend morning. Cool. Let's start today's session. So today we are going to start things technically. What we are going to do is we're going to go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basics. We will strengthen our basics, and the reason behind that is most in most of the junior interviews, you'll be asked a lot of basic questions. It's always a mix of basic conceptual questions plus some tricky questions. So tricky questions, if you are not able to answer for whatever reason, they can still grade you on the approach you took. They can still as you talk out loud what you're thinking, they can grade you on that. But conceptual question is something you have to get those right. You cannot say, hey, let's say if someone asks you how explain what a promise is, and if you're not able to do that, those sort of is an instant reject. So we'll start with that. What we are going to do is we are going to do a reading marathon today. Let me share a link. Cool. So I've dropped a link in the chat. It is javascript.info. And we're going to start reading section wise. So start from 1.1. And the first thing that might come into your mind is this is like too basic, but I can assure you, just trust the process. I can assure you after the end of this session, you would have learned something new. So we are going to make this interactive as well. We are going to use the Feynman technique, which is if you're able to explain to someone else, then you have understood the concept well. So we're going to do a 30-minute silent reading session first. We'll turn off our mics. We'll start reading from section 1.1. There's no marks for speed, but whatever you read, make sure that if you want to make notes, make notes. Read it with an intention that you don't have to read this again. If anything, you want to go through it again, you should have like just made a note of it in your either physical notes or digital notes. Just make a note of it so that just going through those itself would give you a nice revision before any interview. So like I said, no points on being fast, but more points on understanding the concepts really well with an intention of not having to read this again. So 30 minutes we'll do a silent reading session, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. So yeah, breakout rooms are back. Those are always fun. And what we are going to do there is take turns explaining what we have just read. And the idea behind that is, now that you know that you have to explain, you will be more attentive in the 30 minutes that you are reading. You'll be reading with an intention of, okay, I have to explain this to someone. So you cannot really ignore a lot of things. You have to understand everything. And at the same time, as soon as you start explaining, your interview simulation starts, this is how you are going to do in an interview setting as well. And all of your communication fluency as well as articulation things, which is how well you're able to explain a concept to the other person, those will start getting, you'll start getting practice of it from today. So that is about it. I'll start a timer. Anything specific to be read? Yes, I have shared a link. I've shared the link javascript.info. We'll start from section 1.1. And yeah, we'll do that. And any questions before we start off?
So we have 1 to 1 to n, like jitna read kar pao.
1.1 to n, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be 3, it could be 6, it could be 10. And yeah, the idea is whatever you read it thoroughly, that you don't have to read this again. And this will cover majority of your conceptual questions from JavaScript perspective. So again, this has come from feedback from our previous alums that just doing this will help you a lot in your interview. So yeah, we start technical things today. Any final questions before we start off? All right. So we read from 1.4 to 1.1 to 1.4. You need not stop at 1.4. You can go to 2.1. You can go, you just start from 1.1 and then read however till whatever section you can read in 30 minutes, and then we'll regroup. So let me create a timer. 30 minutes. All right. You should see it in the top right. And yeah, I'll see you after 30. All right, folks, we are back. 30 minutes are up. So let's do a quick waterfall activity. What section are you on currently? So it would be like x dot y. Don't press enter yet. Arey, yaar. Okay. Chalo, let's see those answers in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, all right. Cool. So let's do. All right, so we're going to do a breakout room now. And the idea there is to just talk about whatever you read. Take 5-6 minutes each. Just divide. I think we'll do, let's say I'll do a 20-minute room. So take 6 minutes each to just talk about what you have read. And it could be the case that you might be sharing similar things. It's not about don't feel that, hey, I'm sharing the same thing. It's about practicing saying those things. So let's do that. I think it will be better when we come back. Let's see how that goes. So let me do a quick breakout room. Quick recap again. You have to just share what you talked about. You can maybe mention this was interesting, this was surprising, this is something you learned, this is something you already knew. And the idea is you talk for 5 minutes. Like if you, even if you're saying the same things, you should talk for 5 minutes continuously. And then you move to the next person and the next person. So like at least 5 minutes, every person should talk. And any questions before we move to the breakout rooms? All right, interesting. Perfect. Chalo, I'll see you in 20 minutes. We'll wait for 10 more seconds. There are a couple of groups. People are still in. All right, welcome back. Everyone is here. I want to start off by listening from folks of room 4 and 5 because they used the last possible second to come back. So yeah, what were you discussing? How was the experience? Does anyone want to go first? Yes, Pratyush.
So basically, I was with Sweta and Avik. So Sweta was like, I think I took more time to speak, and Sweta was last to speak. So she was speaking. So it took more. So we utilized the last seconds to come into.
All right. Shubham?
I was reading with Simon and Pranav, discussing with Simon and Pranav. Simon had more time and he covered a lot points that he have read, all the points, and Pranav also covered. But for me, like I realized one thing: reading is different thing, and reading and then explaining is different thing. And I forgot to take notes. And when I explain things, I used to what I read. So one thing I realized: taking notes is more important while reading.
Definitely. This is one of the main reasons why during the sessions as well, yeah, go ahead.
I just realized that while reading, it's good to take notes.
Yep.
No, I recalling what I read, what were the full form, ID, Joey, whatever I was recalling.
Yep, definitely. Making notes is very underrated. It's one of the reasons why during the live sessions, Beach I keep emphasizing on, okay, now if you're making notes, please do take this down because you might have an aha moment at that point, but we forget like 80 to 90% of things the next day. So you need that spaced repetition to sort of keep those concepts alive. And yeah, okay, let's hear from more folks. How was the experience? Anyone wants to share? Can raise your hand. Let's see some more hands. We'll start with Rai, but yeah, let's see some more hands. And now that you have started speaking, right? So now it's just you sharing how was it. Yes, Rai, go for it.
Yeah, so what I realized is that if when you read, you think that you understood everything, but while explaining, you do tend to make mistakes and forget things. So even if you have like so much to talk about, but you're not able to put it in words. So I think this activity is like good because that needs practice. And in interview, I think with all the pressure, remembering things will be much more difficult, because here there was like zero pressure, and still you cannot, like everything goes out of mind, like because we don't have the practice of explaining things to others. We just usually keep reading.
Right.
Yes.
One thing I want everyone to like note down in your notes is clearing interviews is an acquired skill. What that means is there's a set. So from a technical perspective, knowledge perspective, you know things already. That's why you're here. And now it's just a matter of doing enough practice to be able to convey the other person that you know those things in a time constraint. Like why the time constraint is important is, let's say the interviewer spends like 5 hours, 6 hours with you, then definitely they'll get to know everything, right? But the constraint or the challenge, the main thing that we are working towards is how can we convince the other person that we know all of the main concepts in just 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever that interview duration would be. And that is the main challenge, which is, let's say if you are being asked to explain the difference between Weldlet and Const, or let's say explain CSS box model, anything like that, or explain async await, you might know it, but you need to be able to explain this in a few minutes. Like if we take 20 minutes to explain this, then they'll not be able to go to the next question. And then they'll just write, hey, this person only answered 1 or 2 questions. We'll practice more of these when we do some peer interviews later in this cohort. But yeah, I think today would be just a starting point. So for you to get into the practice of speaking. Yes, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, like Shubham said, like reading is completely different, and the explaining what you've read is totally different. So while I tried to explain it, like half the time, like my mind was blank. So then I also got some feedback also while explaining. So it was actually pretty great.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is real interviews are not happening tomorrow. So don't take that pressure. And I think I mentioned in one of the previous sessions as well, if you're having some takeaways, some learnings from these sessions, that is your success metric of showing up in this session, right? If you show up in the session, you spend your Sunday morning with us, and then after session, you are like, "Nahin, I didn't learn anything new." Then you could have just watched a movie instead, right? You could have watched Netflix, Prime Video, anything. I could have also done something else. Like it's my morning as well, right? It's a weekend. So yeah, as long as you're learning, think of it that's the success metric of your short circuiting your journey to success.
Yes.
All right, Rishabh.
So yeah, actually what we discussed was but I think I find it very unique, which was same origin policy, cross origin policy, and ID and other things. So why do I tell this to everyone? Because this is my very favorite technique for studying anything, Richard Feynman technique. Even I used to do explain to my mother also, or my brother also, even they don't understand anything, because it helps us things rolling in our back of the mind. So it really helps, even though while reading we don't have a different perspective angle, but while explaining we usually get different perspective angle by which we go through and read again. So it helped really a lot. So another one of my most favorite technique was whenever I study something very deep or something very important. Like for example, I was reading the first page only, but then I came across same origin policy word. So I think Kunal Shah, the CEO of Trade, also said this one thing, that the to master anything, you have to, for example, while you are reading a paragraph and you come across some word which you don't really understand well, so you should go for that only. Then you should read about that particular word. Then you will find another few more new words into that paragraph. So by digging deep and deep and deep, you can really master it. So these are my two favorite techniques which I usually learn, and that's what I did. So I felt really good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Tushar?
Yeah, this is the great activity. Like I like it very most. Like I have few points. This not like I've shared the points that I've read only in 30 minutes, but some of the points I've read earlier. So it's kind of discussion got intense in terms of we are using technical terms. The point is very clear, and that's very good for us. That some of the discussions we are taking it deep and talking it like techniques everyone knows something about and making it some kind of like result to our conclusion to that in term of technique. So that's great activity, and I look forward to some joining few more.
Awesome. Awesome. Like I said, in the weekday sessions, weekend sessions are the most like the highest ROI activities from our end, because we know you are fresh on weekends morning. All right, cool. Let's go for one more sprint. We'll repeat the same. We'll do 30 minutes more. Do you want to do less, more? ठीक है, तो like I've said it, तो bias आ चुका है. ठीक है, let's do 30 minutes more. So let me, you don't need to join a room right now. You'll just see a timer at the top right. See you at 10:55. All right, folks, we are 30 minutes in. Let's do a quick waterfall activity where we are in the docs in the format of x.y. Don't press enter yet. I want to see like a nice waterfall. We'll wait for 5-10 more seconds. Type in the chat which section you're on. And let's see those answers in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, this is a pretty nice waterfall. All right, Rishabh has 2 answers. Why? Like, are you like jumping in between?
Yeah, I read 2 different things. Was done with another thing. So
all right. So most of us are in the second one, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's go into breakout rooms. Same format. Try to speak continuously for 5 minutes each, and make sure now that you have the calibration, make sure all 3 of you get enough time. It's okay if you have like 2-3 minutes later at the end where you can do a group discussion, but don't do like this ki the third person does not get a time to speak, because this is mostly about practice. So 20 minutes is the total time. Make sure that you speak for at least 5 minutes. And let me create breakout rooms. And yeah, see you in, let me see. Yes, see you in 20.
oops.
Hey folks, welcome back. We'll wait for a few more folks. And yep, everyone is back. All right, cool. We'll start with rooms 6 and 8, which probably use the last possible second. How was the experience this time? Anyone from room 6 to 8 want to start off? Just raise your hand.
We don't know our room number, like we didn't remember.
Room number 6 is Abhik, Namrata, Siddharth. Room 8 is Pratik, Shubham.
We are in roommate to start.
Yes, Abhik, go for it.
Okay, this time I was more confident to speak, but I have a lot of content and I don't know how to summarize that content within 5 minutes because I've read till 2.8. So there was a lot of content that I have in my mind and I don't know how to put that thing on the table, all that content. So I was just going back and forth every time.
All right. That's a good thing to think about, which is think of the context wherein you're answering something as well, which is if you have a lot of things to say, do you say a lot of things in a short amount of time, or do you pick some main things and then expand on that? So I think you'll improve with practice. No right answers here, but yeah, you'll find your voice as we practice more. All right, Athar.
Yeah, so this time I was in room 10 and it was just 2 people, me and Seaman. So we decided to recap the entire thing instead of what we covered from where we left off the last time. And this time what I realized was I could explain things better than the previous time. And this kind of validates your point that if you practice, you get better, right? So this is one thing I realized.
Thanks for sharing, Pratyush.
I realized about one thing that like my energy was like little low from the first one because I was like getting tired from reading. I read 1-2 articles like and I felt like tired, and then I had to stop reading and get stretching, and then I again sat and energy came back, and then I read one more article. So this thing I realized for myself.
Yeah, I think that's a super nice point, and it ties to something that we were talking about yesterday, which is there are a lot of variables. And one thing that you might to figure out for yourself, and people you should note it down, is you need to figure out a warm-up ritual for yourself, which is irrespective of what you were doing before. Maybe you just woke up, or you had something else going on in mind. You have maybe a song going on. You have your friend called up. You have like hundreds of things going on in your life, but like just before an interview, what are some 2-3 small things that you can do that instantly gets you in that mood? You don't need to figure it out today, but with time, in the next few weeks, try a bunch of things out and see what works for you. Just say you mentioned stretching, or maybe you have your favorite song, you just listen to it and you get in that mood. And again, this is important because one thing is the concept, the other is you have to explain it, and like you said, right, energy levels and all those things matter. So yeah, I think very nice reflection. All of you should have noted this down. Parth, go for it.
So compared to the last session, I think this was definitely a great one. In the last session, I missed some points. I was blanked out at some places, but I can definitely see myself improving this in this one. So yeah, I think it was a great session.
Awesome. One key aspect of this design, which is have you do two iterations of this, is you understand that you can improve very quickly. It's not like you need like 10 days to improve on this particular aspect. The more you practice, the more you improve. And like all of our sessions are mostly around feedback loops. Will not say ki, hey, just do this, go in the woods, ye pad ke aao, and then we'll be ready. It's more about learn a few things, do them in action, and then just iterate. Iteration is what separates top 1% from everyone else. I think I tweeted it some time back. So, yeah, Pratik.
Yeah, so I'm from room 8. So rather than like covering the most section, we discuss about the section first, and after that we have argument on these. So I think that's the best practice, like yeah, that we did.
Yeah. I think when you are debating any point, you actually get to understand whether you have understood things correctly or not, whether you can whether you feel strongly about something or not. And I think that's a super valuable trait. Ritik?
I just want to point out one thing, that in the docs, there is a section called tasks. So first I saw that section, I thought like, okay, like there were like obvious things, like okay, very basic things. I thought like, okay, I can skip that. But then I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So there was a simple task that name a variable which is currently visiting website. So immediately I came up with current visitor, like the variable name. But when I saw the solution, it was like current visitor name. So that little things I think can help us a lot. So I think we should also not skip the task section also.
Definitely. One thing I would just say that we have not. So the first cohort that we did, it was very unstructured. What we used to do was we just used to get on a call at 10 p.m. and we used to just chat randomly. Hey, what's up? What's the main blocker for everyone? We used to go around the room. We used to discuss things like that. And whatever we are doing in this cohort, it is a result of all learnings from all the past cohorts. So the one thing that like I would highly request everyone, or like it's a mandate from my side, is if you want to do anything extra, that is something you do for sure. But whatever we are asking you to do, definitely don't miss out. Everything is like designed. Everything has a why behind it. So yeah, please do things. And yeah, like you said, thanks for sharing that. You'll realize that a lot of these small things matter a lot, especially doing an interview, because it differentiates you from a person who's just who maybe just watched a YouTube tutorial, and someone who really understands, or you really come out as professional when you do these small polishing. All right, I see in the chat, Menak, for me it's listening to music. A lighter note, coffee works best. Yep. Music works for me too. Doom OST. One more thing that works is breathing in and out. That will lower anxiety and fear of interview. Can do breathing in and out 10 times. I think this is like super, super underrated. I'm actually like a bit embarrassed ki I tried it like very late in life. I just started doing this earlier this year only. I think I should have started it way back. But yeah, we just take 3 or 5 deep breaths. Deep breath means, just 10 seconds. We'll just inhale, then hold, and then exhale 10 seconds or 88 seconds. That really does wonders. Cool. So now I have to like jump off to another call. Maybe just remind me in tomorrow's call, we'll start off with deep breathing and do your homework by today, which is polish your main project and reply with done when you're done. And then the timeline for feedback reviewing 2 or 3 other projects is 6 p.m. tomorrow, and I'll see you at 6 p.m. Any final questions before we wrap up this session? Yeah, meanwhile, if you're raising hand, I'll just say, if you want to keep continuing, since you all are, I feel like you are in the mood, what you can do is you can just join the lounge. You have the voice channel in your cohort. Just join the lounge and you can do the same thing, which is 30 minutes you can read. So it's like almost 11:30 now, so maybe till 12 you can read, and then 12 to 12:30 you can do a group discussion, and then you can read again based on however energy you might have. Yeah, any final questions before we wrap off? All right, then I will see you tomorrow 6 p.m. I'm like super excited to see yeah, move forward. I think like I'm loving the energy so far of this cohort. Cool. See you tomorrow.